Guys and gals, I can confidently say after many years of delays, obviously controversy, COVID 19 delays, and so forth, reshoots, and even reconciliation between James Gunn and Disney and Marvel as well, I'm happy to say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was worth the wait. Our patience has paid off significantly. And I'm glad this is really a very good movie in the Phase 5 era after somewhat of a lackluster movie from Quantumania. So I'm really glad this is a very good movie and it closes off the trilogy really well. James Gunn has a great understanding of comic book superhero movies. You saw his work in The Suicide Squad and also Peacemaker as another example. And he's done well with the Guardians of the Galaxy and really turning these somewhat unrecognizable characters, you know, invincible if you want to call. I don't want to say invincible, but sort of like very unknown, unpopular characters since 2014 into household names, and he has done so once again. So this is an excellent movie, and I'm glad it's in theaters and not shoved aside on Disney Plus like some sort of TV special or whatever. I didn't see the holiday special for Guardians of the Galaxy that came out, but I'm really glad this movie is in theaters. Anyway, I'm really glad that this is an excellent movie. And I really like how, for this movie, it's more of a Rocket Raccoon centric story, as indicated in the trailer. Because a lot of times with Rocket Raccoon, we see him early on, he gets injured by one of the characters that was teased in Volume 2, Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter. And now the whole adventure is set on Guardians trying to save Rocket Raccoon while Peter Quill, still having emotional problems, drinking, dealing with the loss of Gamora and also the strange reappearance of Gamora from 2019's Endgame, the 2014 version of Gamora, once again played by Zoe Saldana, excellent as well. So depressed and still dealing with drinking. So this is where we are with Peter Quill. It does pick up after the holiday special, of course, with two more members, with Cosmo the dog and Kraglin, played by James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, so who's sort of taken sort of the fin ability or whatever, the fin whistle sharpener specialty from Yondu, previously played by Michael Rooker. So that was pretty cool to see. And sort of like Adam Warlock coming out of his cocoon, he doesn't know you better, but he is tasked with defeating or killing the Guardians under the task of High Sovereign, those gold people. So that's what it is. And, it's funny how the part of their journey does become a little bit awkward when they're forced to reunite with the Ravagers and Gamora being part of the crew. So you can imagine how emotionally uncomfortable that made Peter Quill feel. Peter, he just wishes that this Gamora is the one he knew he once loved, and like there's a lot of tension between them. I even love that scene with like they're going to retrieve some sort of hard drive data or something. Yeah, it's like a hard drive used so that an off-kill switch doesn't kill Rocket. But I will continue to talk about Rocket in just a moment. But there are a couple of characters, or even more than that, who I really liked and was really entertained by in this movie. Mantis, I thought she was still going to be stagnant as still like this, like, oh, I know how to get into your feelings. That kind of character. She was great before. She's so much better now. She actually knows how to fight hand-to-hand combat. She's actually so much wiser. She tried to go through with Peter Quill trying to reunite with his family from Earth. That's something I really liked. I thought that was a nice development from her. So that was really great to see as well. And she's always been one of the more interesting characters since Volume 2. And also Drax and Nebula. Their arcs, I don't want to say satisfying, but I like where they were from beginning to end in a way. They're still themselves. And at least like their futures become clear. Drax still the funny guy when he either tries to be or doesn't try to be, and Nebula's trying to still like with that voice that Karen Gillan does a good job using, but still we saw growth from her from other films to this one. Still more of a reliable character, sort of speak. So that was pretty kind of cool. But you know, the flashbacks, it becomes clear, where did Rocky Raccoon come from? You know, how did he gain this high intelligence? How did he escape from his captivity? How was he made from his lab experiments? Why was it such a traumatizing experience for him? We don't see how he met Groot, who I will talk about, but it does show his friends that he knew from other animal friends locked in a cage with him, and more specifically, the High Evolutionary. Such a compelling villain. I really like the High Evolutionary. He was so good. I really like this High Evolutionary. He's not about like Earth conquering, Earth shattering. It's more about him trying to play someone like above God, creating societies, using animals, being high with advanced intellect with animals, and like with the counter Earth and all this sort of stuff. And like with Rocket's IQ surpassing even the High Evolutionaries, it became his obsession throughout the movie, and he was willing to do whatever it takes. Even after that one scene that like literally destroyed or annihilated an entire planet. So that was crazy from him. But really, like the High Evolutionary, I have the name of the actor, but I really, really liked this performance. Really one of the more compelling villains, especially in this movie. And just like sort of like his maniacal, psychotic behavior. I really liked what I saw in this movie. Um and you know, especially with like, and even like Rocket escaping, noticing the treatment of his friends, you know, of course it ended tragically. So it sort of shaped Rocket's view of everything he's been through in life. Okay, so cameo appearances. A couple of cameo appearances I really like. Nathan Fillion, it was cool to see him. Some people might remember him from that Castle TV show, really cool. And of course, the Gunn's wife, Jennifer Holland. Some people complain about Jennifer Holland being in another James Gunn project because she's his wife, but that's business, so what can you do? It's fine and whatever. Also cool to see Sylvester Stallone once again. I remember he made an appearance in Volume 2, so it's cool to see him make another cameo in Volume 3. That was pretty cool. And also Adam Warlock, as I said earlier. To me, he was just like a secondary antagonist that's just more like an obstacle more than anything for the Guardians. Doesn't have much personality. Doesn't even know what he's doing half the time. He just follows orders, search and destroy for his mother. And again, it kind of shows one character not being high in the IQ and another high in IQ with Rocket. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see. But the High Evolutionary's obsession with Rocket, again, really a compelling villain. And he knew his goal. He knew his purpose. He knew what he wanted. And so that's just something I liked maybe a little more than the last two villains, like Ego the Planet and what's Executioner guy. I mean, like, what, 3 phases later. I mean, I'm a fan of these things. Ronan, Ronan, the Executioner guy. Fuck, I almost forgot. But again, just like before, like Volume 3, still very colorful, still very humorous, still like the humor was not forced. So that's something I really like. Especially I like some of the camera shots. I will talk about my favorite scene that occurred somewhere in the 3rd act. You know, and I really like how Groot in almost MCU film, whether it's like regular tall Groot or baby Groot or teenage Groot, this Groot is probably my favorite. He's like more buff, muscular, fit looking Groot as well. Still voiced by Vin Diesel. This is my favorite iteration of Groot, just based on how he looked. And I especially love that scene with Peter Quill, you know, with the guns out, with all the tree roots and like guns everywhere. And then when Peter Quill jumps off the building and then Groot follows him down and then he catches him and like flies to unknown location or outside of the Counter Earth area. Like, I thought that was so cool. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the film, with Peter Quill and Groot, just a complete synchronization and just guns everywhere. I thought that was so cool. So that was just really nice to see the trust between both characters. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but when there was like a group of children held in a captive, it was nice to see Drax, you know, having this fatherly side of him. it sort of reminded him when he was a father himself before obviously Theranos killed his child. So it was cool to see Drax being like the fun, good dad again, and it was kind of nice to see how Nebula evolved, whereas like Gamora's like more like a stubborn character sort of way, like whereas like previous films it was like this way with Gamora and Nebula, and now it's like the other way with Nebula and Gamora. So I thought that was pretty cool to see as well. Of course, third act was predictable with the city or planet, I think planet nowhere in danger and civilians and all that. But I mean, with team members captured, like of course there was a dangerous rescue mission and so forth. But yeah, my favorite scene, as I said, was like the whole Guardians team fighting all those soldiers in that hallway with man, I wish I remembered that song, but that was a good song that really fit that whole vibe and was like really like done in one take shot, which really reminded me of the Daredevil TV show. And I just thought that was so cool how like the camera moved that way with a character doing something really cool the other way, and tag team combo duos, and like that was so cool. That was probably like my favorite scene that occurred in the third act. I thought that was really fantastic. I really really liked that scene. That was probably really cool. But like yeah, I'm just glad by the end Peter Quill matured as expected in the end, and like he knew what he wanted as well. But I really, again, I have to give praise to Shikwudi Iwuji's Shikwudi Iwuji, the name of the actor who played the High Evolutionary. Again, sensational performance by him. The main cast, they were sensational as well. I'm not saying anything otherwise. Peter Quill, Chris Pratt, still great as Peter Quill. Drax, funny as usual. Nice to see a little more of Rocket Raccoon in the third act. Again, not much for him, but the story was also centered around him, just give him more emotional weight in this story, and so forth. So I thought that was really nice and on. And as for how it ended, it's really fine by me. Like it's nice, like more of a closure for the whole Guardians, for the whole gang. So that, and it's really fine. But like some of the characters remaining as members of the Guardians team, I mean, I'm not sure that's a really satisfying ending, but at least like that's supposedly their future. But it's nice to see Peter Quill like finding something more for himself to move on, and Gamora being more of a Ravager. Of course, like she's not going to be the Gamora we all knew as audiences member, but I mean that's just the consequences of timeline changes and so forth. But yeah, guys, like I think for this movie in the Phase 5 era, this is really a very good step forward. And like let's hope and pray that the Marvels coming in November also takes the MCU in the right direction. And the trend still goes really strong, but this movie in general, again, if you still have any chance to go see it, please do so. It is a must watch. At least puts your mind at ease if you have any concerns about the Phase 5 era. But Volume 3, in terms of like a movie series trilogy closing properly, this movie does close the story of the team properly, and that is fine. I also don't blame someone like Dave Bautista a few months ago saying like, it's time. He doesn't want to do more hours and hours of going through makeup and so forth, and that is understandable. But it's good that there's closure. It's good that there's a resolution. It's a good thing that character arcs are fulfilled. And so it's just really great how the movie ended. So yes, I fully like this movie very much. Excellent movie.